Welcome back to the CMF Conspiracies podcast. Ready for another deep dive into the world of the strange and unexplained?
Always. What do we have today?
Well, our listener is fascinated by time travel stories.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so we dug up a real doozy.
All right, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Let's talk about Sergey Ponomarenko.
Sergey Ponomarenko, okay.
This guy supposedly traveled from 1958 to 2006.
Whoa, hold on. 1958 to 2006. That's a pretty big jump.
That's what they say. We found an article about it,
Okay.
and we're going to break it down to see if it holds water,
All right, I'm ready. Let's hear it. What happened?
Okay, so picture this. It's 2006 in Kyiv, Ukraine.
Kyiv. Got it.
And this guy, Sergey, just kind of appears, right? But here's the thing. He looks like he's in his 20s,
In his 20s.
but his ID says he was born in 1932.
Wait, so he's supposed to be like, what, in his 70s at least?
Deceased. Already, something's not adding up.
Yeah, that's a bit of a red flag.
And it gets weirder. He's got this vintage camera with him
A vintage camera.
and the film inside. It's supposedly Kyiv from the 1950s.
No way. Like photos of him back then?
Photos of him with his girlfriend, scenes of the city, even a possible UFO.
Okay, now that's just getting crazy. A UFO, too. Come on.
I know, right? Like, what are the odds?
This is wild. So, what did the police do?
So the police get involved, obviously.
Of course, missing person case.
More like a time travel case. Because get this, they actually found records.
Really?
Yeah, that matched Sergey's identity. And they found his girlfriend.
No way. She was still alive.
She was much older, obviously.
Right, of course.
But she backed up parts of his story.
Wow, okay. So there's some actual corroboration here. That changes things a bit.
It does. And get this, she even claimed to have a photo of him,
A photo of what?
of Sergey. But in the year 2050.
2050.
You're kidding me, standing in front of some futuristic cityscape. Okay, now my head's spinning. This went from a missing person to a full-blown time travel epic in like 2 minutes.
Right, I know. But before we get too carried away,
We got to ask the big question.
the big question, which
Is any of this even possible?
yeah,
Like scientifically?
right. Let's not forget about the laws of physics here.
Exactly. So let's get real for a second. Is time travel even remotely possible according
Yeah.
to what we know about science?
Okay, well, that's where things get really fascinating.
Yeah.
Because to even start to answer that,
Yeah.
we got to talk about Einstein.
Einstein, of course.
His theories of relativity, to be exact.
Okay, I'm with you. Relativity, always love that stuff, but it can get a little...
Mind-bending.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just sci-fi, though.
So it's actually real.
Time dilation, for example. It's a very real thing.
Okay, break it down for me and our listener like we're back in physics class.
Okay, imagine you and I are hanging out, right?
Okay.
Just chatting. And then I hop on a spaceship
A spaceship. Where are you going?
somewhere fast, like approaching the speed of light fast.
All right, you're really going for it.
Got to. Now, while I'm zipping around out there,
Yeah.
time actually slows down for me.
Hold on, it slows down. Like, compared to me back here.
Exactly. Relative to you, time is moving differently for me out there in space.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Are you saying time moves differently depending on how fast you're going?
That's exactly it. Einstein figured that out. It's called time dilation.
Time dilation.
And the craziest part, it's not just a theory. We've actually observed it.
Wait, really?
Scientists have done experiments with atomic clocks. They put them on airplanes.
Airplane.
Yeah, and flew them around, comparing them to clocks on the ground.
Okay.
And you know what? The clocks on the planes were ticking just a tiny bit slower.
Whoa.
So the pilots and passengers,
Yeah.
technically, they traveled a teeny tiny bit into the future.
No way. So you're saying time travel to the future is actually a real thing?
Well, on a very small scale, yeah.
That's wild. I never realized time travel was happening all around us.
It's happening all the time. Think about GPS.
GPS.
Yeah. Those satellites orbiting Earth, they have to adjust their clocks constantly because of relativity. If they didn't, your directions would be way off.
Okay, my mind is officially blown.
Yeah.
So Einstein's theories, they're not just some abstract idea.
Nope.
They're actually built into the technology we use every day.
Exactly. But, and here's the catch,
Okay.
those tiny time jumps, cool, but not Sergey level, you know?
Yeah, he supposedly jumped almost 50 years.
Exactly. To do that, you'd need to be traveling close to the speed of light.
Like Star Trek warp speed.
Pretty much. And even then, there's another huge question.
What's that?
Could we ever travel to the past? Like Sergey going back to 1958.
Right. Going to the future, even a tiny bit, I kind of get.
Yeah.
But going back in time, That just seems impossible.
You're hitting on something there. Going back in time, we run into some serious paradoxes.
Paradoxes, like what?
Imagine you go back in time
Okay.
and you accidentally prevent your parents from meeting.
Prevent them from meeting.
What happens to you then?
Well, I guess I'd never be born.
Exactly. Which means you couldn't have gone back to stop them in the first place.
Whoa, that's a serious brain twister.
Right. It's called the grandfather paradox.
Grandfather paradox.
And it's just one example of the logical problems with going back in time.
So is time travel to the past just completely impossible then?
Let's just say it raises a whole bunch of questions that we don't have answers to yet. But you know what's interesting?
What?
Even though Sergey's story might be pure science fiction, it makes us think about some really big questions.
Yeah, about time, about what's possible.
Exactly.
I love that about these deep dives. Even if we don't have all the answers, just
Yeah.
exploring the questions is fascinating.
I agree. So let's get back to Sergey's story
Okay, back to Sergey.
and see if there are any clues that might explain what really happened.
I'm ready. Let's separate fact from fiction.
Let's do it. All right. Let's take another look at that CCTV footage, the one that supposedly shows Sergey in 2006.
The one with the date stamp.
Exactly. Remember, it says April 23rd, which was a Sunday.
Yeah, I remember.
But the footage itself, it looks more like a Wednesday to me.
A Wednesday.
Busy streets, people dressed for work. You know, not exactly a typical Sunday vibe.
Good point. It's almost like someone messed with the dates to make the story fit.
Right. And speaking of things that don't quite add up, those Soviet ID documents that Sergey had, experts took a closer look and they found some inconsistencies.
Like what?
Well, some of the documents were typed neatly, which makes sense. But the ID stamp on his personnel file, it was suspiciously clean.
Suspiciously clean. What do you mean?
Like way too crisp for a document that's supposedly from the 1950s. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, if it was that old, wouldn't it be faded or smudged or something?
Exactly. It's like it was, recently created.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely suspicious.
And remember that photo from 2050?
The one Sergey's girlfriend had.
Yeah. The futuristic cityscape. Turns out it was most likely photoshopped.
Photoshopped.
Experts analyzed it closely, and a lot of the buildings didn't match up with architectural records. Even what looked like the Empire State Building was off.
Wow, so we've got a date discrepancy, potentially forged documents, and a fake future photo. It's starting to sound less like time travel and more like a really elaborate hoax.
Right. And here's another thing to consider. Sergey first shared his story on a Ukrainian show called Aliens.
Aliens, as in extraterrestrials.
The whole 9 yards. Aliens, paranormal activity, the works. Not exactly known for their rigorous fact-checking, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that definitely makes you wonder about their motives. Did they just want a good story, even if it wasn't true?
Exactly. But what about those police records that seem to back up Sergey's identity? What happened to those?
Yeah, weren't those a big part of the story?
Well, when researchers tried to find official records to confirm this big investigation the show talked about, they came up empty.
Wait, they couldn't find any records?
Nothing. It's like the whole investigation never happened.
Okay, that's a huge red flag. And what about that mysterious Dr. Pablo, the one who supposedly examined Sergey?
Dr. Pablo.
Yeah. Didn't this show say he was some kind of expert who could confirm Sergey's time travel claims?
Ah, yes, Dr. Pablo. Well, he's completely untraceable. No records of him in any hospitals or scientific databases. It's like he vanished in the thin air.
So no police records, no doctor, a photoshopped photo, a story promoted on a paranormal show. This is really falling apart, isn't it?
It is. And just to add to the skepticism, photo analysis experts and historians also found a bunch of other problems with Sergey's story.
So it sounds like we can pretty safely say that Sergey's time travel tale is, well, a tale.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
But, even though it might not be true, it still got us thinking about time travel.
Yeah, and the fact that we're even having these conversations is pretty amazing.
It is. And who knows, maybe someday some of the things we talked about, like wormholes or quantum entanglement, will actually unlock the secrets of time travel.
Now, that would be truly mind-blowing. It's kind of funny when you think about it.
What's that?
We started this deep dive looking into a supposed time traveler.
Right.
But this conversation's gotten so much bigger than that.
It really has. Sergey's story might have been a bust, but it's given us a chance to talk about time travel in a whole new way.
Exactly. It's like even if we can't actually travel through time,
Yeah.
just thinking about it, exploring the possibilities.
It expands our understanding of, everything.
It reminds me of something Carl Sagan once said.
Oh, what's that?
He said, "Imagination will often carry us to worlds that never were, but without it, we go nowhere."
I love that, and it's so true, especially when we're talking about time travel.
Even if we never build a time machine, just imagining it makes us think in new ways.
Absolutely. And that's what's so amazing about physics.
Yeah.
There are scientists out there right now working on theories and experiments that could totally change how we understand time and space.
So what kind of discoveries are we talking about? What's got the scientific community buzzing these days?
Well, one area that's really exciting is the study of wormholes.
Wormholes, like those tunnels through space and time, the ones we see in movies.
Exactly. In theory, a wormhole could connect 2 points in spacetime, creating a shortcut that would allow for faster than light travel.
Whoa, faster than light.
And some physicists believe that we might be able to manipulate wormholes
Manipulate them how?
to allow for time travel.
So you're saying there might be these, like, cosmic shortcuts out there
Potentially.
that could let us jump back and forth through time.
It's still theoretical, of course,
Right.
but the possibility is fascinating.
It is. It's mind-blowing.
Another really cool area of research is quantum entanglement.
Quantum entanglement. That one's always kind of confused me.
It's tricky. Imagine two particles that are linked together, right?
Okay, linked.
But no matter how far apart they are, they can instantly affect each other.
Instantly. But isn't that faster than the speed of light?
That's the crazy part. It's like they're communicating faster than light.
Which Einstein said isn't possible.
It's what Einstein called spooky action at a distance.
Spooky action at a distance. I like that.
And some scientists believe we might be able to use this to send information back in time.
So maybe not time travel for us.
Not yet.
But maybe we could send a message to the past.
Potentially. It's
Yeah.
all very speculative at this point.
Right.
But just the fact that scientists are seriously considering these ideas, it shows how much our understanding of the universe has grown.
Yeah, it makes you realize just how much we don't know.
Exactly.
It's exciting and kind of scary at the same time.
I agree. But that's the beauty of science, isn't it?
What's that?
It's all about pushing the boundaries, challenging what we thought we knew.
It's like we're constantly exploring, discovering new things about the universe.
And that's what I hope our listeners take away from this deep dive.
Yeah.
Even if time travel stays in the realm of science fiction, the journey of exploration is what truly matters.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
So before we sign off,
Yeah,
I want to leave our listeners with one last thought.
right.
We've talked about the science of time travel, the myths, all the mysteries.
We sure have.
But ultimately, the most important journey we can take is the one that helps us understand ourselves.
And the universe we live in,
Exactly. And who knows, maybe someday we'll crack the code of time travel.
maybe we will.
Until then, keep those minds curious.
And never stop exploring.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you for joining CMF Conspiracies podcast. What do you think about the topic we covered today? Comment below with your thoughts on this subject. If you have a conspiracy you wish for us to deep dive into, please send your topic to our email address or leave it in the comments. Thank you again for watching. Like and subscribe for more content like this.